Hello again, guys. This is Michael Cheek with MikesGuitarLessons.com. This is the third video for The Wind by Cat Stevens. We're going to be learning the chorus in this video, and let me actually go through it one time so you can see what we're going to be learning in this video. Okay, here we go. You can see there I just kind of let it go into the verse a little bit. So the entire chorus is pretty short, but there's a lot of finger picking, so that will stretch the lesson out a little bit. The chords you need to be familiar with are this G fifth. So let me I'll just name these chords as I teach them to you, but I'll show you how to play them real quick so that I don't have to show you every time which fingers to put down. So the G that we're going to be using is a G fifth, and it has your first finger in the third fret of the thick E string. It's muting the A string, and then the D string and G string are open, and the B string is being played in the third fret by your second finger, and the E string is being played in the third fret by your third finger. Okay, that's the G fifth chord. The A that we're going to be using, let me angle the camera a little better. We're going to use this fast A. You know, it's an A chord, but I'm just calling it that because we're laying one finger across it to make things a little faster. So it's open on the A string. You don't play the E string, but it's open on the A string, and then your first finger plays the second fret on the D string, the G string, and the B string. And we're not going to use the E string on that one. Okay? Another chord we need to know is the D chord. Okay? Now, the D chord is played by putting your middle finger in the second fret of the skinny E string. Your third finger is going to play the third fret of the B string, and your first finger is going to play the second fret of the G string. Okay? Now in a D chord you can play all the way to the fifth string, so to the A string, to that D chord. Also an E minor. This is our E minor. We've got open on the thick E string. We've got second fret on the A string with our second finger. We've got second fret on the D string with our third finger. And then we've got open on the G, B, and E string. Okay? That's our E minor. Those are all the chords that we have to learn for this section of the song, so let me actually get into how you're going to finger pick these. Most of them is going to be fairly straightforward, just a pattern you can follow, but there's a couple of times when we have to do things a little bit differently. Okay? You get the camera at a good angle here. Okay, now we're going to start off on the G chord, but I just want to remind you that you lead into this chorus with that little thing that we learned at the end of the last lesson, where you're going. Okay, you lead into it with that, and then you go into your G fifth. So we hold down our G fifth. Our bass note's going to be on the, our thumb's going to be on the E string, and our first finger is going to pluck the D string. And then our middle and our third finger are going to pluck the G and the B string. Okay, so it's going to sound like this. Alright? And then at the last note, I like to go ahead and use my first finger to play the D string again. Okay, so a little closer. That's the G fifth chord. Then we go to our A. Showed you how to play that. So your notes here are going to be the four middle strings. So our thumb is on the A string, our first finger is on the D, middle finger is on the G, and third finger is on the B. Okay, so you just grab those four middle strings, and you kind of do the same picking pattern. It's thumb, first finger, and then your middle and third finger together, and then your first finger. Okay? G fifth, but we're picking it slightly different here. We're going through these next chords, these next three chords, a lot faster. So you're going to your G fifth, and you're going to pluck just like that. So it's the bass note on the E string. Then we use our first three fingers to pluck the D string, the G string, and the B string all together. And that's all we do in the G fifth. Then we go to our A chord and do the same thing, but we change our bass note to the A string. So now it's the four middle strings again. Okay, so A string and then the D, G, and B string together. Okay. And then last but not least, we've got the D chord, and we're going to shift our hand down to the skinniest four strings. Okay, so we've got a third finger on the skinny E string, middle fingers on the B string, first finger's on the G string, and thumb is on the D string. Okay, now the way you're going to pluck that, let me remind myself real quick. And actually, the way we're going to pluck that, I forget what I just said, but the plucking pattern you're actually going to use on that D chord is thumb on the D string, then your first finger on the G, and then third finger and middle finger play the E string and B string together. Okay, so alright, let me play up to that point so we're not confused at all. Starting at the beginning of the chorus, this is what we're playing. Okay, one more time. Okay, now after we play that, this is kind of weird. You kind of have to go into a little bit of strumming here. So as soon as we play this D, you're going to get as fast as you can to the E minor, because you're immediately coming down on the E minor chord like that. Okay? Remember, you're going to strum all the strings for the E minor chord. So it's going to sound like this. Okay? Add a couple more strums there to keep the rhythm going. So a long one at the first, 1 and 2, like that. 1 and 2. So I kind of screwed that up. Let me try that again. Okay. Now after the E minor, then we go to our G fifth again. All right. Now what I like to do here is I play my bass note on the E string here, and that comes first, but I've moved these three fingers to the skinniest strings. So my third finger's on the E string, my middle finger's on the B string, and my first finger's on the G string, okay? And what I do here is, let me see, I gotta remind myself. That's right. I play my thumb on that G fifth, then I play my first finger on the G string, and then the E and B string together. Okay, so it's now after I've played that, I lift my first finger up, but I keep these two fingers down. And I'm going to play the same picking pattern. So thumb on the thick E string, and then first finger on the G string, and then E string and B string together again. Okay, so that's, and you can even add in an extra G string if you want. Okay, so seems to be getting a little long now, so let me go ahead and try and play up to that point. I'll play slowly though. Here we go. Now we're going to the A chord again, but this time it's a little different. It's going to sound like this. Okay? Now what's happening there is we've got our A chord down, and I play the A string, then I play the D string, and now I make sure I put my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. That actually changes our A to an A suspended chord. We're just going to play A string, D string, and then I pluck the B string and the G string together. So it's 3rd fret on the B string, 2nd fret on the G string. Play them together. Then I'll lift up my middle finger, so now it's 2nd fret on the B string, and just play the B string by itself. And then lift my first finger up so I can play the B string open. Like that. Okay? Oh, sorry. All right. Now, let's play up to that point again. Now what we're going to do here is repeat some of what we started at the beginning of the course. So we go back to our G5th chord and play this pattern again. Then we go to the A chord and repeat that pattern. And then we do the same thing as we did before. G, A, and then D, and then E minor. Okay, then the G5th chord. Sorry, this time I like to keep them on the middle strings here. So E string, D string, and then B string and G string together. Now here's where it changes. Instead of going to that one where you let off on the bass note of the G string, we're actually going to an A. Okay, so that's A string, D string, and then G string and B string together. And then that's actually it for the chorus. We're going to a D after that, but what you're doing is starting the verse. Okay, so it's okay. So I need to play through the chorus a couple of times for you. Once I'm going to focus on my left hand, the other one I'm going to focus on my right hand. Okay, so here's what you do with the left hand during all this. Here we go. Ready? Sorry. Okay. Had a couple of pauses there because I'm kind of blanking out. I need to sleep a little more, I think. Now, let's go ahead and look at the right hand a little bit more. Okay, here we go. Now, just for practice, one time again looking at both of them. Okay. Now, that probably was a long lesson, but I wanted to get it in as one lesson. And I hope you enjoyed this song. It's actually a pretty short one, only about 3 minutes long, I think, if that even. So